Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Poz. With me today, very special guest, former WWF Superstar, former WWF World Tag Team Champion, All Japan Tag Team Champion, Noah GHC Tag Team Champion, OVW Tag Team Champion, USWA Tag Team Champion. I mean, he's been there, he's done that, he's done it all. B2, aka Bull Buchanan. Bull, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How you guys?
Doing good. What's going on in your world? What have you been up to?
Uh, well, since 2000, I think 2012, I've been with the sheriff's department here in the town where I live. I started there, and I've been a patrolman. I was in investigations for a while, and now I work over at the courthouse. So that and that's been about it. I've got my oldest son, Ben Brooks Jensen. He's down in NXT, and my younger son is just getting started here at some of the local shows around Georgia. So stay pretty busy.
Nice. And that's awesome that your son Brooks is in NXT, obviously doing big things. What do you think about that, though? He's kind of following your footsteps. He's on TV already. And, like, what do you think about his maturation process and how he's doing in NXT?
Oh, he's doing good. I knew pretty early on he's been wanting to do this since he was small kid. He followed me around, all the indie shows, which my other son did too. But he got into amateur wrestling, and he was fairly successful. He won the state championship his senior year, but I knew it actually if he has a fault, it's timing, because his senior year was 2019. They just got finished with their amateur wrestling season when COVID hit. So that, there was no indie bookings or anything like that for a long time. When things opened back up, he got right back into it. But yeah, I think he's doing good. He's 21. I was still trying to figure out how to get into business when I was 21. He's already on TV, and the things I've always stressed to him, he does, I think, very well. His selling's good. He moves well in the ring. So yeah, I think he's doing great.
What do you think about them not, even with Von Wagner, who's Wayne Bloom's son, them not mentioning his past and who his dad is and stuff like that? Does that bother you at all, or does that make sense to you? Like, what do you think about that?
No, that doesn't bother me at all. They, I told him, call me anything you want to, just call me paid. At the end of the day, but I think that now, from what he told me, because him and Braun and Bloom was already down there solo. They all had different names, and I think they wanted to see them, kind of try to make it more on their own merits instead of, it's Rick Steiner. I mean, everybody knows, but that was the reasoning that I heard, which makes a lot of sense. And I mean, Vince is always like creating his own superstars, so that just kind of falls in line with that. But yeah, it doesn't bother me a bit. I'm I hope one day, who knows? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But the way that we look back on I think it was 2002 or 2000. I don't remember the John Cena, Randy Orton, Brock, Shelton, all those guys. The way we look back on that class now, we may be looking back on that class of those guys, because they had a pretty strong class of guys, that are all doing well. So, but yeah, that was the reason that I heard that, they wanted them to kind of, instead of coming in as Rikishi's son or Bull's son or anything like that, kind of make it on their own merits.
It's funny. Sometimes they're for, like the Randy Ortons, Cody Rhodes, like sometimes they like putting the name to it, and then sometimes they don't. It feels like more lately not, because even Bray Wyatt obviously is Mike Rotunda's son. They
Right.
don't
Yeah.
they don't pay any attention to that either.
Yeah. They'll mention that, they're second generation, but they don't actually. But yeah, I mean, same thing with Bray and his lineage. I mean, everybody knows. Barry Windham is, I guess, his uncle. So yeah, I mean, it does make sense. They're creating an alternate universe. It's even when they say the WWE universe. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're creating a totally alternate universe. They of course they do pay homage, to the guys that have gone on before, but they're creating a whole new universe full of stars.
When you look at Brooks, obviously you say he's only 21. He's very young to the business. Do you give him advice, or do you kind of let him learn on his own some of the things that he needs to learn?
Well, I mean, when he actually started, he was I think he was only 14, and he approached me and asked me, if I would train him, and I told him, I said, well, let's try refereeing for a little while. So I made him referee. I mean, he'd done everything else at the shows. He'd put out chairs, he'd put up rings, he'd, sold pictures, he had, done everything else. So I always think that starting as a referee gives you a little bit of a foot in the water. It kind of lets you know, okay, is this going to be something for me or maybe not? Because you're in the spotlight, but the spotlight is not directly on you. You got a little, I don't want to say easier job, because it's not an easy job if it's done right. But you're the third man in the ring and not the primary two. So the focus is not so much on you, and it shouldn't be, as it does on a match. So it gives guys a chance to get in front of the crowd, kind of feel it out, kind of get the nerves worked out a little bit. So he did that about a year, and then I think he was 15 or 16 when he had his first match. But I would go to the shows with him, and of course, we talked in the cars, and he would talk about it 24/7. So it wasn't so much as me giving him advice as it was just him asking questions. But yeah, I texted him. I watched the match last night, and I thought it was a really, really good match. I mean, good performance from all the guys. But I texted him. I told him, I said, man, that was a really good one. But he's being there like he is, being there, and especially every day like they are now. He's knows a lot more about what's going on there than I do.
What do you think about today's style and even like today's wrestlers? He's big, obviously, but a lot of the other guys are smaller. It seems to be different in your day, where guys are all like your size and bigger. I mean, they were monsters in your day. So what do you think about the wrestlers of today and the style of today?
Or you were breaking up?
What do you think about the wrestlers of today and their style?
Are you still there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
You still? I can't hear you.
What do you think about the wrestlers of today and the style of today?
Okay.
I was saying, what did you think about the wrestlers of today and the style of today? It's a lot different.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think it's any secret. The guy, the guys aren't, the size doesn't matter as much as it did when I was there. And I think that's probably a good thing. The style, I mean, to me, it's just the evolution. The style is constantly changing. From what it was, in Gorgeous George's era, then Luthez era, the Hogan era, the Stone Cold. I mean, the style's constantly changing, and it's usually changing, toward a more faster pace, which is just, people's attention span, of course, as time goes on, gets shorter and shorter. But, I mean, I enjoy it. I think you don't want to get lost. I mean, you don't want to get too lost in all the moves and forget that you're telling a story. I think that's a fine line to walk. Most guys do. I was just sitting here watching Kenny Omega and Jeff Cobb. Got a tremendous match. But yeah, I mean, I think just nowadays the pace is so much faster. I think storytelling, it's easy to get lost in there. And that's what this is all about. I mean, this is when you boil it all down to the bones. It's what it is, a storytelling. We're just telling a story with our bodies. And of course the promos and skits. But ever since this thing's been the modern era of professional wrestling, that's what we've been doing, is telling a story in the ring with our bodies.
Seems like you do keep up with a lot of current wrestling, not just NXT and your son. It does seem like you do keep up with the wrestling business.
I'm sorry, you still breaking up.
You still keep up with the wrestling business a lot.
Yeah, I try to. For obvious reasons, I've totally got invested with NXT, but not just because my my son's down there. A lot of my friends work down there. Myself and Sean worked. I don't think we ever actually got to work in the ring together, but we worked together at the same time. Matt Bloom, and I went down and did a guest coaching stint for a few days, and I got to meet some of the other guys. So a lot of guys I know personally are down there, of course, and my son. And going down there for those few days, I got to meet a lot of the other guys. So I kind of feel like, I know them a little better. So I'm totally invested in NXT. I try to watch Raw and SmackDown. Sometimes I have to watch it on replay, but I watch AEW also, and I don't catch it quite as much. But got friends there too. Jim Ross, Chris Jericho, guys like that, and a lot of the guys from around here in Georgia. Griff Garrison worked a lot with Ben up in Anarchy. So a lot of the guys from around here, it's almost like the old WCW. Atlanta was where all the guys lived, so it was kind of a wrestling hotbed anyway. So it kind of.
You were saying about Atlanta being a hotbed. Now Florida is a hotbed for wrestling.
Yeah, like I was saying, it's almost like the old when everybody lived around Atlanta. So a lot of the independent talent from around here, they go up there and work some. Like I say, Griff Garrison. I think the new Hollywood Blondes with Brian's son. He worked a lot down in Georgia, so Ben got to work with him a lot, and a few of the other guys. So it's you know, it kind of has the WCW days kind of feel to it.
When you were breaking in, obviously, you came in through Georgia. You did Smoky Mountain as the Punisher, and you worked for Cornette for a little bit. You even worked for ECW for a little bit with Heyman. But how do you get noticed by WWF? Like, do they kind of scout you, or how do you get noticed by the WWF? How do you get noticed by the WWF when you're going through? Like, how did you get picked up and maybe scouted by WWF?
Okay, I'm back now. um, so I started down here in Georgia. I was working just independent stuff with the guy that trained me, James Hammond, and I got a chance to go to work in North Georgia Wrestling, which had a TV show on Channel 36 in Atlanta. It had a 3 or 4 hour block of wrestling. Joe Pedicino originally had that, and Joe's still involved in it, but it was back in the I guess mid to late 80s. It was called Superstars Wrestling. It was like an 8 hour block of wrestling on Saturday nights, just from all the different territories. So it wasn't the same size it was back then, but it was still around. It had a TV slot, and I think right afterwards was Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So I went to work for them, got a good push there. Jim Cornette saw me there. I was friends with New Jack Mustafa. And I'd met, Bob Armstrong was like a lot of other people, was a real father figure for a lot of us in business. So I knew Bob. I'd worked with Bob a lot. So I had quite a few people in Jimmy's ear, and he got to see me work a match, and brought me into Smoky Mountain, and I was part of his militia. And when Smoky Mountain shut down, he told me just to keep working, and he'd get me a job. And sure enough, about 6 months later, I had a contract in the mail.
It's amazing because basically, you're pretty new to the business, but you're getting signed by the biggest company, technically the biggest wrestling company in the world, right? I mean, you're kind of on your way to WWF television.
Right, right.
How did that whole process go? Like, were you ready, you think? Like, how did that whole process go with you getting signed by them? Just simply Cornette?
So it's kind of a funny story. Like I said, Cornette told me just keep working, and I'll try to get you a job. But he got a lot of Tracy Smothers, Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony. He got a lot of guys jobs up there. So I was working independent stuff down here in Georgia and through the Carolinas, Tennessee, the old Smoky Mountain area. I was still, I don't want to say a name, but, being in Smoky Mountain helped you out. So I was doing that, and a friend of mine from Georgia, Billy Black, people would probably recognize him. Jolie for a tag team over for a while. And I said, of course. Paul had won. Was still Paul. A lot of the East Coast fans watched All Japan Pro Wrestling, and he knew that Joel and Bill were down here in Georgia. And I think about that same time was, they kind of started migrating south, doing some stuff in Florida and Georgia. But he wanted Joel and Billy to come up. Well, Joel was tied up. I can't remember, who was Joel. So Billy called me, and he told me, he said, I got this young guy. He worked for Cornette and Smoky Mountain. So he said, bring him. Saying that Cornette and Paul had their falling out, I guess, over. I think New Jack might have left a week or two early or something like that. Anyway, so I called Cornette because I didn't want any heat with Cornette because he really was, kind of my mentor in the business. And he said, no, hell no, go up there and work for him, do whatever you can do. So I went to ECW. We worked the Eliminators. We worked the house show, and then we worked TV. We worked against the Eliminators. And Paul really liked it. He wanted to bring us back. I think he was impressed. But I was home for about a week, and I got a call from Cornette, and he said, hey, you ready to go to work? And I said, what do you mean? He said, I got your contract in the mail. And I said, how'd you do that? And he said, oh, it's simple. I just, when I saw Vince at TV, I reminded him about you. I told him about you before. And I said, yeah, he just went to ECW this weekend, and Vince said, hire him. So that's how I got hired. The ECW rub was just, it was instantaneous. And, I don't know what the motive behind it was, but I'm glad about it. I had really, on the bed, and being just like.
So you were talking about getting into USWA, and basically the ECW rub kind of helped you get in, and Cornette helped you get in. When you look at it with that, what did you think about the gimmick? I mean, you're recon, you're kind of doing the militia thing again, but you're the Truth Commission. What did you think about that gimmick when they signed you to WWF? You're just happy to work there, happy to, did you like the gimmick?
Well, I mean, it was a foot in the door. It wasn't really what I thought I would be doing, but it was a way in. It was Bret Hart's ideal, and I think it was with Owen. I know that Owen was friends with Mantar, the original member. So I think, from what I understand, just look at some of the officers, some guys like us that were down in, and he looks like a military athlete right in. I didn't know if it would have a whole, long shelf life, to be honest, because we were
You're back. You were saying
Okay.
basically it was a foot in the door, despite the maybe the bad gimmick.
Uh, we were all out, how far, but Don Callis came in, no commandant, had some visa trouble or something. Robin Smith. So they brought Don in, and we kind of changed directions with Don, which just made sense. He wasn't a military guy. Didn't really look like a military guy, but he fit right in with the whole David Koresh type character, which was still pretty forefront on people's minds at the time. So I thought we might actually have more legs if we went that way anyway. But eventually we all wound up. They went off and did the oddities, and me and Luke, we did a couple of matches together. But we had from my part, I had just had a blast. All the guys were great. Robin was a great guy. We're still friends. Still talk to him occasionally. Mantar was a good dude. Not sure what really happened with that. And then Sniper, who was Luke Poirier, just great guy, tremendous worker. And Kurgan, of course, he was a good dude, and he's had a whole nother career in movies. He's done several movies and done pretty well in them. But it was just a great bunch of guys, and it was all new to us. None of us had ever been there before. So the whole thing was new to us, and we were like kids in a candy store, Christmas morning or something. We were just having a blast, traveling with each other. We traveled in a minivan. So even if the gimmick didn't have legs, the friendships have lasted a long time.
How do you learn about the call up to WWE? I mean, you're in USWA, you win tag titles and stuff, but when you actually get called up to WWE, how does that go?
Well, like it usually does. We were down there, and we were working on the gimmick, and bam, they say, hey, you're at TV, be there. Here's plane tickets. So I think we went up and did a dart match, or maybe a shotgun Saturday night. We knew that they were bringing us up. We just didn't know when. Or we hoped they were bringing us up. You never know for sure, but we just didn't know when. But just got the call, and I remember actually seeing Paulie there, and because I think it was one of the nights that the ECW guys came in early on, like in the '97. I think it might have been '97. So it was one of the nights that the ECW guys, Sandman was there. I think Sabu was there. Taz, of course, was there. But I ran into Paulie again, got to talk to him. We made our debut, and we were off and rolling there for a little while.
Did you think on the main roster that gimmick would get over, that it would be something better? Like you mentioned, like the David Koresh stuff maybe, or did you kind of think like, I don't know if this has legs?
I mean, I think we all kind of had our doubts, but it was the build up was to Survivor Series, which is always 4-man, tags or teams. So we knew we were building. It was man, you put everything you can into it. I mean, that's kind of your job, also. You're not only just wrestling. You do that for 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever. But you travel. How many hours a day, and you have to. There's a lot more to it than just the wrestling. Unfortunately, it would be great if it was, but I don't know. We thought we could have some good. Well, we knew we had. We we did a lot of stuff with the bikers, with the DOA. We did a good bit of stuff with the Brequas. The one group we never did anything with, and it would seem to have been the most obvious, was the Nation. I don't know if they steered clear of that intentionally, of just because the Truth Commission, from what I understand, the way the gimmick came around was Brett was doing a Sinbad taping in South Africa. Robin, the original manager, the commandant, was a actor, and he was a voiceover guy, and he was doing the episode also. And him and Brett just got to shooting it, kicking it around on the beach one day, and they came up with this idea. The gimmick was based off of, there was an actual Truth Commission in South Africa. It was put in place to investigate all of the atrocities of apartheid. Well, the thing was, the Truth Commission was just as corrupt as the as the government at the time, the apartheid government. So everybody knew it was a load of BS. So that was what the gimmick. We were supposed to be liars and racist. So I don't know if they steered clear. It's hard to think they would at the time of all the stuff that we were doing. But yeah, we always thought we'd have a great run with those guys, but it could almost, I could see them turning them babyface, having to be in a angle with us, and maybe they didn't want that at the time.
When you look at that, though, it's almost like, okay, they're doing the Truth Commission, you're on TV, but then when it's done, is that like, oh man, I thought this was going to lead to something else, or I thought it was going to be better? Like when they kind of send you back down to OVW, was that like just a shot to the gut? How did you feel when they kind of send you back to OVW after they basically just scrapped the Truth Commission?
Well, actually, I'd been down in Memphis originally, even before the Truth Commission. I think I was wrestling as the Punisher down there, because that's what I did in Smoky Mountain. And so me and Dwayne Johnson and Bart Sawyer were all, I think all three of us were maybe part of the actual first developmental class that they had. They sent us to Memphis, but at the time Memphis was just it was just a working territory. Really didn't have a training school. So, but we'd all had, I'd wrestled for a couple of years. So had Bart. Dwayne was, he was just getting started out, but he'd already had a few matches, and he'd been working with his father. I think his father trained him. So he'd been working with his dad. So, it wasn't hard for him to adapt. But once I figured out, they quit bringing us to TV. I knew that wasn't good. So Cornette was still in the office up there at the time. And Jim Ross had always been a big supporter of me. And I approached them with the idea of saying, hey, look, you guys are paying me. I can sit at home, or, with your blessing, I can go out and get some indie bookings and just, get the experience. And they were kind enough to do that. It was a little different time back then. So they did that, and I just started taking as many bookings as I could. And now with the actually being on WWE TV, I wasn't a big name, but I was a name. So it was easy to get booking. So I was working 3-4 nights a week, working for Burt Prentice and Bill Barron's down in Music City, a lot of the places around here in Georgia. But Cornette calls me up one day, and he said, listen, he said, I had to get out of Stanford. I was about to murder somebody. I've come back to Louisville, his hometown. And, I bought in with Danny Davis. We're running this OVW. He said, I want to bring you up. I got an idea for a gimmick. And I said, shit, Jimmy, when do you want me there? And where do you want me and when you want me? So he laid it all out to me on the phone, the whole, the Bull Buchanan gimmick. It was originally done in OVW as I was not a prison guard, but a prisoner. I was on work release from the state prison down the road. So to me, it wasn't, to me, it was, hey, at least they're thinking about me. Here's another opportunity. So I went down there. I got in just the shape that I could. Went down there and just worked on the gimmick. The funny part is when they brought me up as the prison guard. So all the work I'd put into the gimmick was, kind of just, washed away under the bridge. But, it gave me a chance to not just work on a gimmick, but just work on myself, my ring presence, just the little things that make such a big difference up there. The way you stand, the way you open up to the camera, stuff like that. It gave me a chance to work on stuff like that. And of course, with Jimmy, we already had the relationship from Smoky Mountain. So, if I was doing something wrong, he'd let me know. So it really wasn't. I mean, I enjoyed it. And actually, I went back up, I had to run with Bossman. We did the RTC thing. And before I came back with Cena, WW, I called once again. It was right after the invasion angle. We chased the WCW guys around there for a few weeks, and once again, the tickets quit coming. You're sitting at home, but I'm still getting paid. But now I'm getting paid a lot more money, so I was a little more proactive. I called JR up and I said, "Hey, listen, the same thing. I can sit at home and you guys can pay me, or I can go down there and try to work on something." And he said, "Go." So I called Jimmy up, and Jimmy was like, "Heck yeah, come on, we'll give me your idea and let's run with it." So that's what I did. I was driving myself up, to Louisville on Tuesdays, working a couple of house shows for him. But I never really looked at it because at the end of the day, the check's still coming. I think it was always on Monday or Tuesday. The check was always in the mail, and it always was what they said it would be. So.
And that's good on you though, that you're not just sitting at home collecting a check. You go to OVW, you better yourself. So I mean, that's kind of good on you that you're not just going to sit there and just collect a check for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the younger guys I run into now, I try to impress on them. We all do this because we love it. I mean, most of us do it because we love it, and would happily do it for free. But at the end of the day, it is a business. It is about business, and the old saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. That's true, and but I always tried to from a business standpoint, I always tried to approach it as a job. Vince McMahon was signing checks, and JR was putting his signature on it too. So, just from an employer and employee standpoint, I always looked at it as be there on time, do what you're asked to do it with a smile, any above and beyond, just give them 100%. And so, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't pay somebody just to sit at home and do nothing. And more especially if I thought they were just sitting at home, really not doing, getting fat, laying out by the pool. So when I was off the road, I actually worked harder, and and there was a lot of motivation too, because if you're not on the road, something. I mean, no matter how much they like you, if you're not in something, you need to be in something. So I worked twice as hard when I was at home. Uh, try to work hard all the time, but especially, those couple of times that I was off the road, man, that really fired me up. And I always come back from my standpoint, I always came back in better shape. I always tried to come back with my win better than what it was when I left. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a job. And, if I was an employer, I wouldn't, just pay somebody that kind of money just to sit at home.
With you, versatility, I'm thinking like of the gimmicks because yeah, you do recon at first, and then you come back with the SWAT team gimmick kind of look with the the prison guard rather than the Punisher as the as the prisoner with Bossman. Then you do right to censor when the tag titles, but that's a completely different gimmick. And then you go completely different with the John Cena with the B2 and the Booyah and stuff. Is that something you liked about yourself and what you're able to do? Like there's a little bit of versatility there from you.
Yeah, I've always looked at it, as that's like I said, you got to be able to adapt because sometimes things don't work. Some the the thing with the boss man wasn't really a stretch. I mean, that was easy for me to kind of be myself. And then with the right to censor, I always kind of I always had the kind of the ideal in mind of a Southern Baptist preacher. And with John, that was just purely fun. we it was really cool because I knew John from OVW. We'd been down there at the same time, and I'd actually met him during some of his tryout matches. And you knew he had the look. I mean, not even just watching his dart matches, and they would continually get better. Which is what the office always wants to see. We'd go come to town once every 3, 4, 5 months. We'd come to California, and when we would, he would have a dart match, and every time he got better. And once I got to know him in OVW and watched his microphone skills, you never know. I mean, there's been a lot of good people slip through the cracks, I'm sure, but I had a feeling that he was going to do well. And then once he hit on the rapper, once he hit on that, man, he took off. But Vince always saw me as a killer. He liked that the big boss with the right sense of the killer. And I'd done that since the day I got in the business, so for me, it was something new. I tried to add a little, I don't want to say comedy, but something that people would look at me and say, well, that's a stretch. I mean, I don't know if that fits him, but I thought it was my job to make it, I did it. The Booyah, I can't remember, maybe I did the Booyah. Yeah, we got a really care. I wasn't really. Sorry, I played more of a the sidekick comedy guy, I guess.
Now, Booyah was your idea or wasn't your idea?
I think it was John's idea. I really don't remember, but I believe it was his idea. Because I remember, I can't remember the guy's name, but at that time he was on Sports Center, and that was his catchphrase was Booyah. So I think we were just sitting there joking around one day about it, and I think he actually came up with it. But we had a good time with that. I remember a lot of your viewers are probably familiar with it. We called it Magic back in the day. I can't remember the guy's name, but he did all the props for us back then. So he has his own boxes, his own section back there. And I think me and John were rumbling through it to try to find some necklaces or something. And we stumbled on the old, I don't know if it's original or not, but the $1 Million Man, the dollar sign, the big chain. And, I popped on that. He did too. Because he was a big wrestling historian too. I mean, he grew up watching this business. So, but yeah, I mean, I always kind of thought that was my job, part of my job was to, the old saying, when they hand you chicken, something, you turn it into chicken salad. So I looked at it as my job. Was it something I would have thought of for myself? Probably not, but I had a good time with it.
So funny, so different. Maybe you didn't expect it from you. It was very, very funny. And obviously, the little nickname, the little catchphrase, it was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how I kind of meant it. I've been a straight guy for so long. Like I said, it was fun to actually have some fun with something. So yeah, I tried to approach it because I remember thinking about it, when they told me I was going to be John's sidekick, / bodyguard, whatever. And I tried to think, okay, how should I approach this? Is it like a bodyguard, or is it, more of a Eminem, kind of style guy? And that's kind of where I, oddly enough, I was a big rap fan. Listened to it all the time back then. So, I was I kind of got the look from Eminem, the Slim Shady, the baggy pants and actually me and Shelton Benjamin were riding together at the time. And I think me and Shelton went to the mall and he helped me find the Rough Rider pants and, wife beater. And we found a couple of chains and, it was just, it was something to have fun with.
Very funny, very different, especially after the right to censor stuff, which is like the polar opposite. Making fun of the parent teacher council or whatever the heck that group was called during the Attitude Era. You're doing that something
Yeah.
was so different than what you were doing with right to censor.
Yeah, the right to censor was that was Vince's um, that was his answer to the parent teacher council. And there again, I thought we had a pretty good run. I thought maybe we could have went a little longer with it, but at the same time, we were kind of peaking there. We bought WCW, so that was not a weird time, but you've just added 20, 30, 40, 50 more guys to your roster. So you got to do something with them also. But yeah, I was a Stevie Richards fan when he was in ECW, and I met him at ECW when I got that chance to go, and he was a super nice guy. And actually, at I think it was 2000 WrestleMania in Anaheim, me and Bossman tagged against D'Lo and Godfather, but.
D'Lo and Godfather, you said?
Yeah, it was that year. Stevie and I hung out at the gym for a little while, and then we went over to a restaurant and had dinner together and hung out, and just kind of got to know each other. So we got to be friends, and they told me I was going to be with him. So he came and found me, and he laid it all out to me because I wasn't really sure what the angle. He'd been out a couple of times, just walking out, I think on Godfather or maybe somebody else, and just kind of giving a warning. But he laid the whole thing out to me, and I said, "God, man, you people gonna hate us," and that was the the whole point of it. But they really did. I mean, that we had a lot of heat back then with that gimmick, and the music was so annoying. So from the minute we came out, we just got booed unmercifully, and that to me that was our job. We were supposed to be bad guys, and so shit, we on that I think we accomplished what we set out to do, because we really pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah, you guys, there's no love for you guys whatsoever during that Attitude Era period. I mean, they hated you guys. I mean, you're turning the Godfather into the Good Father. You know, everyone loved the Hoe Train. You turned him. You beating the Hardy Boys for the tag titles. You guys were hated.
Oh yeah. I don't remember exactly where it was at. I want to say it was in Houston, but maybe not. But I got to the building, and at the time I was still riding with Ray. I think maybe I was kind of jumping back and forth with Ray and Ron and John. But I got to the building, and Stevie met me at the back door when I came in. He said, "Oh, did you hear?" And I said, "No." They said they're putting Godfather with us. I said, "No way." And he said, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "Oh, I bet he's pissed." And it was so comical because we were standing at a corner, and Stevie just kind of peeps around the corner and points, and I stick my head around, and I see Vince talking to Charles, Godfather. And it's pretty obvious that Charles wasn't happy. He I don't want to say it like that. He was pleading his case to Vince, and it was very apparent. But he did it. He hated it, and I couldn't blame him. I mean, I kind of hated it too. Everybody loved the Godfather. I mean, he was a locker room sellout, just to see what he was going to say and how the crowd was going to react. But yeah, we turned him, and then brought Val on board, and Ivory was such a class act. She was tremendous worker, and a really nice lady. And me and Godfather and Teddy Long wound up riding together. So became friends, made a new friend. I'd known Charles for a while, but I'd never really hung out with him or anything. So I got to, him and Teddy Long, and Val, and Val was just to me, a very underrated worker. Very, very good. But yeah, we had a good run. I thought we ended it too abruptly. I thought there could have been a builder big up. But like I said, you have to look at the climate at the time. And, we just bought WCW, and, we had those guys coming in. So a lot of things got probably killed off a little quicker than they had originally thought. But, that's just part of it.
Was there pressure from like the outside to end the gimmick early?
Oh, well, I think originally the Parent Teacher Council thought that, for some odd reason, that we were actually, on their, we were actually advocating for them. I think they eventually found, kind of figured out the joke was on them. But, I don't know. I always chalked it up to, and Stevie and I talked about it. And I always just chalked it up to, they had other things they had to do. We just finished with WrestleMania. We just brought those guys in. So, everybody got put on hold. Stevie did.
Were you surprised, obviously, after the B2 thing, because B2 was getting over, and obviously that was post right to Censor, but were you surprised that you guys got released, or that you got released when you did?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know if surprised. I mean, you kind of almost have to always have your guard up. But no, I mean, I was surprised when they broke me and John off like they did. I was surprised at that. That was, to me, that was a little bit of writing on the wall. I kind of figured, I said, okay, if they don't have anything else for me now, this might be drawing to an end. but yeah, I mean, I thought me and John, John didn't, really need me. He was about to blow up anyway. But I thought we could have milked it on out a little more. But no, I mean, they were really kind on that. They I remember getting a call from John Laurinaitis, and he said, yeah, they're probably not going to renew your contract. And I said, okay. But I'd always wanted to go to Japan. That was, a bucket list thing for me. And Johnny told me that, hey, I'm going. They were going to Japan there in a few weeks. He said, I'll say something to Muda, a few of those guys for you. So, and they put me in the Royal Rumble. I think they already knew I was on my way out. They put me in the Royal Rumble, which was, a pretty good little payoff. And then, I still had a little bit of time left on my contract, and they actually paid that out for me, which I thought was really nice. So, I was surprised when they broke me and John up as quick as they did. After that, I really wasn't that shocked that we get, because the fact is I'd been there for 8 years. I'd done several different things. One of JR's phrases is, it might be time to go away for a while and learn a new hole and come back. And that's just how I looked at it. I didn't really, I tried to look at it as a positive. I said, well, I've always wanted to go to Japan. I wasn't going to leave WWE to go to Japan. So, that's probably the only way that was going to happen. And, but then I did, and, I had a whole nother career over there. So, I think it all worked out in the end. But yeah, I was surprised that they broke us up as quick as they did. But I wasn't that surprised about the release after that.
As we head towards the finish here, we hit the wind down. You did have a nice run in Japan, many years with All Japan and with Pro Wrestling Noah. Obviously, the sometimes the names over there is funny, like the RO and D kind of doesn't make sense, like for the gimmick, but that's what they do when they put American words together. Overall, though, you really enjoyed the time over there in Japan.
Oh, it was great. If I'd went there before I went to WWE, I don't know if I'd ever left. I loved it over there. Loved the style, loved the culture. We originally went to All Japan, and Taka Michinoku had just recently left there also. Formed a group. It was me, D'Lo Brown. There were different members at different times. It was we had like one or two rotating spots for different people to come in. But the original group was me, D'Lo Brown, Taka, of course, he was the leader. Mike Awesome, who I had met up in WWE, and Jerry Toot, who was the Wall in WCW. We were all the original group. And then the next tour, Umaga, Eki, Fatu came in, and Just Incredible came in for a tour, and later on,
Oh, you were talking about who else was in the faction?
Yeah, different times it was different people. Matt Morgan came over for a few tours later on. Once Umaga went back to WWE, Rosie, Superstar and Train, he came over and filled Eki's spot. So, but yeah, we had a really good run over there. But that was the ideal in All Japan, and then I think maybe 2005, 2006, me and D'Lo wound up. They pretty much disbanded. Eki had went back to New York. They had put Rosie and they put Rosie in with another faction. One of the members was Tao Kea, Monakel Bossman from Hawaii. He was a fixture in All Japan in the early and mid 90s. So they put with us, and yeah, we had a great run over there. But me and D'Lo jumped to they disbanded the group. So me and D'Lo jumped to Noah, and you know, had another 4 or 5 years over there, I think, and actually got to win the GHC tag team titles, which for D'Lo and myself was both a huge thing, because you know, we went over there together, and we'd always, you know, kind of, we wanted to be the tag champions together. And then to get to do it with Pro Wrestling Noah, which in my opinion had probably the greatest roster of wrestling talent at the time in the world. Marufuji, Kenta, you know, of course, Misawa, Ogawa, Kobashi. You know, we have Daniel, Eddie Edwards, the you know, you know, been there and work with all those guys, and then I know it was a listening for me. You know, there, I enjoyed. I think we all enjoyed it. It was a lot of. It was a lot of.
Yeah, that Noah roster is unbelievable. Some of the best wrestlers ever. I mean, really, were a part of Noah. But for you and your career, how would you kind of sum up your career? I mean, long standing career, obviously, you know, 20 plus years, your son's in the business, but how do you kind of look at your career looking back?
My son Ben, like he refers to me as the Forrest Gump of wrestling. I was there for a lot of the big things that have happened in our business in the last 30 years. I was there for a lot of them, just kind of peeking around the corner, you know, watching things unfold. I was there at the, you know, I was there the night that we bought WC, or, you know, announced that we bought WCW. I was there for the Montreal screw job, so to speak. You know, I've been very fortunate. You know, I remember thinking before I got in the business, if I could just do this and make $500 a week, I would consider myself a very successful person, and you know, thankfully I've done a lot better than that. But you know, I just I've been very lucky. I got to be a part of something that is gone. You know, D'Lo and myself got to be a part of the last territory days. You know, you could still go down to Memphis, and I don't know how good of a living you can make, but you can make a living. You know, Smoky Mountain was there, ECW was there. You know, Japan was still going good. Puerto Rico was still good. So I'm very fortunate, and I got to learn from those guys, you know, and a lot of the guys were, you know, my heroes growing up, you know, Bob Armstrong, Tommy Rich, you know, and to actually get to learn from those guys and travel with them, you know, it was a dream come true.
As far as you, anything coming up next for the wrestling business? Are you doing anything wrestling related?
My son is, like I said, my son's 16. My youngest son, Zach, is 16. He's a pretty good football player, and he's a really good wrestler. You know, he's wanting to start a career, I guess, so to speak, following in the footsteps. But yeah, I'm working with him now. He's had a handful of matches, but he got interrupted by wrestling season. But he's doing good, and I'm looking at getting a training school going. I've always wanted to do it, just, you know, never really the situation or whatever time or whatever, you know, wasn't right. But I got a little bit more time now than I used to have. So yeah, I'm looking at starting a school, you know, coming up here pretty quick. And then just, you know, doing the same thing with him that I did with Ben. You know, get to get out here and see a lot of the old friends and meet the new guys. And, you know, I had a blast, you know, when we were traveling around doing these shows and everything, because, you know, the greatest part to me was, you know, I could still be a part of it. I could still enjoy it. And I didn't have to, you know, wake up and not be able to move the next morning from being in the ring. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to doing that with him, and, you know, maybe getting school going and, you know, see where it goes from there.
As far as you, is there a place where everybody can find you, social media wise and otherwise?
Yeah, I've got a couple of Facebook accounts. The biggest one, I actually forgot my password and could never get back into it, so I just made a new one. It's Bull Buchanan. That's about it. I don't really do Instagram with other stuff. I just you know, I get on Facebook. I hope the government doesn't hear me say it, but I get on TikTok a lot, and I enjoy watching that. There's a lot of as you probably know, there's a lot of pro wrestling content on there. Yep. So I'm always finding, you know, little gems and nuggets from that. But no, I'm glad after all these years that I still get to be a part of it. You know, like I said, it's once you come to the realization that, hey man, I just can't do this anymore. It makes it a lot easier. You're not waking up, you know, your neck sore, your back sore, your shoulders hurt. But yeah, I still get to be a part of it and hang around with the guys. And like I said, you know, meet a lot of these new guys. It's a lot of fun because, you know, to me, one of the most amazing things in my career, I kind of mentioned it before, was just being able to be in the OVW and see Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, John Cena, so all those Nick Dinsmore, Rob Conway's, all that young talent, to be able to see them when they first start, and then to be able to see them to achieve what they've done. You know, to me, that's one of the biggest thrills that I've gotten out of this business is watching the young guys, and you know, you try to help them any way you can, you know. And it's not always, you know, showing them a wrestling hold or move. You know, a lot of times it's just, you know, teaching them how to survive out on the road, you know, things like that. But I enjoy watching other people succeed. I really do. I think that's why I've always wanted to do a school. I enjoy watching people take the knowledge that they've been given and and apply it. You know, whether it's from me or you know, anybody. It's just very satisfying to watch the young guys come up and be successful.
All right. Awesome stuff, Bull. Appreciate all the time tonight. Thank you so much.